Smokey, want to come in? Nancy, you ready? All right. Ready, folks? All right. Well, good afternoon, everybody. We're here to give you an update on yesterday's crane collapse. I'd like to start by just telling you the condition of the patients. As you know, we had one person who was killed immediately on the scene. We had a number of other folks that were moved to hospitals. 2 were treated and released. A fireman, was also treated and released. At this time, we have 1 patient still in Bellevue who's being evaluated in stable condition. I'm joined by a number of other agency heads. They'll go through their agency responsibilities here at the scene. We're going to start with Rick Chandler, the commissioner from DOB. Rick?
Right here. Thanks, Commissioner Esposito. My name's Rick Chandler. I'm Commissioner of the Department of Buildings. Just let me give you an update on what's happening behind us right now. So the crane removal has started. As you can see, there are 4 cranes on site right now to start taking these booms apart and removing them to a secure location. That removal is expected to be completed by sometime tomorrow morning. It's possible it could be earlier, but right now we're going to say tomorrow morning. The movement recording computer as part of the crane itself has been removed for further investigation as to what kind of data that will contain, and we expect that will contribute significantly to the investigation. A sidewalk shed, as you can see, has been erected around most of the buildings on Worth Street. Approximately 500 feet of shed has been erected. We still have about 20 feet remaining once the crane behind us has been removed. All buildings in the area remain stable. The parapets that we talked about yesterday that were in danger of collapse have been successfully removed, and we are installing netting around the roof to ensure public safety at this time. In addition, the debris that had crashed through the roof at 55 Worth has been removed, and we'll be looking to secure that further and look toward reoccupancy as soon as possible. All partial vacates from yesterday still remain in effect, meaning the 5th floor that I just referenced at the New York Law. All Worth Street egress points leading to the schools are still effectively banned for now. None of the buildings are fully vacated, they're only partially vacated. So my staff remains on duty here 24 hours until this place is completely recovered. All tower cranes in the city can go back to work today. Yesterday we had issued an order for all cranes to stop work, but we're allowing the tower cranes to go back to work. All crawler cranes must be inspected by my staff before they can go back to work today, but I have staff running around the city visiting all of those sites to ensure that they're in proper operating condition before they can go back to work. So that concludes my statements for now. I'll go to Commissioner Turner.
Good afternoon. My name is Bob Turner, First Deputy Fire Commissioner. We are maintaining a presence on the scene of approximately 75 personnel of fire and EMS. We're monitoring the safe removal of the crane, and also we are prepared for any contingencies that may arrive in regard to any hazmats or injuries. The IMT is still on the scene and just managing and coordinating the overall operation.
Good afternoon. I'm Emily Lloyd. I'm the Commissioner of the Department of Environmental Protection. Right now we're very focused on getting water service back to the 3 buildings that are without water service. There are about 75 residents we think who are affected. The focus on restoring the water will come in certain steps. First of all, the site has to be cleared, as the building commissioner said, and then we will be coordinating with Con Edison to see what is in the area where we and Con Edison have to work, and working out the sequence in which we'll work together. We will then cap the water line that runs through that street on Worth Street. We'll cap it east of the residential buildings but west of the break that was created by the crane, so that we can introduce water back to those buildings, but they will have to be flushed and chlorinated, the lines, and then we have to go through 2 rounds of tests that take 24 hours to make sure they've been cleared of any bacteriological contamination. So it will be probably close to midweek before They have drinking water again. Water will be provided through OEM bottled water meanwhile. Thank you.
Open up for questions, please.
Describe to us the difficulty of what goes into moving a 575-pound crane that's now twisted and
Well, a lot goes into it, and I guess, Rick, you can address that.
Well, you're right. It's complicated. It's 565 feet in two pieces. My crane staff has been there since the accident yesterday. We have a consulting firm we've also retained that will be advising us and also further conducting the investigation. In addition, NYPD and DOI is on site. But our concern is that these booms be cut into the appropriate pieces, that they can be lifted by these cranes that you see behind us and securely placed on flatbed trucks that are queued up also a couple blocks away. The main point is to cut them in locations that doesn't compromise the forensic engineering value, so that we can have experts study how these pieces failed. So that's the complexity that's involved, but we got it under control.
how do they do it? They cut it. People have no idea how this works. What do they do? How do they remove something?
Well, they'll cut it into manageable pieces that goes onto a truck. You can imagine these crawler cranes move around the city regularly, and there's a system to do it. So it's a choreography that takes place every day. This is a slight modification to that choreography because they will be cutting it in places that allows them to place it in a safe manner on the truck so that they can be transported. Again, not in a way that would prevent us from doing an appropriate engineering investigation to those pieces.
You mentioned the crane movement computer.
Yeah.
Is that similar to like a black box on an airplane? And what do you hope to learn from it? And will it tell you anything about like the wind gusts or anything like that in the area at the time?
That's a good question. I think we should make that clear, that it is not the equivalent of a black box. The computer is going to give us some data. We're not sure the complete amount of data. It will likely give us the angles of the boom of the two pieces that were in action at the time. If it gives us more than that, well, that'll be an extra, but I don't want to set expectations too high that it's not going to give wind speeds or actions of the operator or that matter. I think it's going to give us very basic stuff, and we'll see as time progresses. And as far as wind speeds, I don't think that it will have that recorded. As I said yesterday, every crane in the city has an anemometer on the boom to show the operator what the wind speed is at the time. I'm not. We will find out if the wind speeds are on that computer. It's it's still under investigation. I would only be speculating, so we're not going to say any more now. There's some folks looking at it, obviously. I think you're going to have to give us a couple of weeks at least while we do some engineering calculations, go through the metal and how it failed, and try to gather information about wind speeds around the city, and possibly if there are wind gauges around this area. So I think all that will be accounted for.
You said inspectors were looking at other cranes around the city, and now they can go back into work. What was that process like, and did you find any issues when you did that yesterday?
The process is for us to contact the engineers who are associated with those cranes. We maintain contact with them regularly as it is, so it was a matter of us reaching out to them by email and phone, and getting them to confirm back to us that they were in touch with the operators, that indeed they did close down. We did spot checks to make sure that they had closed down. To reverse that today, we gave the okay for the tower cranes to go back on their own and operate as per the manufacturer's directions in terms of wind speed. In general, tower cranes have a different type of system that is resistive to the wind, so we're confident that will be operated in a safe manner. Regarding the crawler cranes, our staff will be visiting just to make sure that the appropriate rigger and hoisting machine operators have given their machines the appropriate overview, and we'll verify that their anemometers and all their equipment is in operating condition so that they can go back to work.
So the inspectors don't actually look at the mechanic?
So that's why there are licensed hoisting machine operators and riggers and mechanics. They are required to have that knowledge to go through the details of the machine itself. Our people are there to ask the right questions. They don't actually go into the mechanics and do the work for them, and that's true for all construction projects. We regulate and oversight, but we don't do the work itself. So we're there to ask the questions and make sure that they're getting their items in the proper order.
I apologize, I may not be the only one. What is a tower crane? What is a crawler crane? What kind of crane is this?
So this was a crawler crane. A crawler crane has tracks on it, somewhat like I think of it as a tank, right? A tank tracks. Those are crawler cranes. Tower cranes are cranes that are actually erected on the foundation of the street, usually on the outside of the building, not always. They're attached to the building on every few floors, so the structural system connects it to the structural system of the building itself. And then the actual crane mechanism with the boom is at the top, as you can see in some of the buildings that are in this neighborhood. So they're totally two different mechanisms. There is a mobile crane, which is a different term. A mobile crane is something that is on wheels and that drives around the city. They're usually smaller machines, and that they move around more readily than a crawler crane. A crawler crane typically has to be transported on a flatbed truck.
Is it fair to say that for those parties who know the terminologies, you call a crawler crane a freestanding crane as opposed to
I think this one's attached to the building or freestanding as well. You know, you really can get caught up in terminology here. It's rather detailed, and I'll be honest, I have to spend time going through with my staff to get the terminology right as well. It's a world unto itself. It's rather complicated, but believe me, there's some very competent people and engineers that are working on this right now.
How long before the span of Front Street is reopened and back to normal?
What do we say that?
Well, we have to take the crane apart. That's number one, as you talked about. And we're hoping to get the street cleared by about sunup tomorrow. But there is some repaving we have to do. We've got to make sure that the street is structurally sound. Polly, right? We have to pave it and get it done.
Well, first con DEP go in, then we'll handle paving.
And then how long might that be?
I mean, we'll have to see how damaged the roadway is first. Obviously, we'll want to get it paved as quickly as we can, but other steps will have to happen first.
And I just want to reinforce, we said that the investigation could take weeks. We've had investigations that go on for months in these type of situations. So you're going to have to be patient on as far as really looking at what the cause of this was.
Do you think the city inspector should be on hand during critical crane adjustments, including lowering booms and jumping cranes, two procedures that have caused fatal accidents in the past?
I'm sorry, you're going to have to test that again.
Do you think a city inspector should be on hand during critical crane adjustments, including lowering booms and jumping cranes, two procedures that have caused fatal accidents in the past?
I think that they are on site on some occasions. We're going to look into the actual protocols for every type of movement of a crane, and that might vary based on the boom length as well. This is one of the largest boom lengths that's been erected in some time, and so we are going to investigate whether there might be an adjustment to how operations are done based on the size of the crane. So that's under further investigation.
Bay Crane Services was cited with 4 safety violations since 2011. What are the standards for crane owners and operators?
Well, I'm not sure what those violations were that you're referring to, but the Bay Crane really consists of about a quarter of the cranes that operate in New York City. So any of those violations could really vary from something very minor in terms of making sure that they've registered appropriate documents with us to something more severe. So I can't comment exactly on what those are, but when you have a quarter of the cranes in the city and we're watching you closely, we're going to make comments about how you're operating, so that would reflect itself in the number of violations that may have been issued.
Can someone update us on the investigation into the crane operator, the person who was sitting in the cab?
Well, that's still preliminary also, but we've tested him for alcohol and drugs and alcohol negative.
He's been very cooperative.
Yeah, he's been very cooperative, and again, he's tested negative for all substances.
How old is the patient and what is the person's gender? Still adult?
The one in Bellevue is 72 years old. He's a male. I'm not going to give you his identity, but he's stable. He was ready to be released, and they had second thoughts on it. They're keeping him a little longer.
What kind of injury?
73. Hit by debris. Anybody else?
You mentioned the crane being cut into certain pieces so the forensic engineering could be preserved, and later, can you talk about how many pieces you're anticipating and where those pieces will go?
Well, it'll be cut up, and Rick can talk about it, but also they're going to take apart the crawler, what they call the crawler piece, with the threads. They'll be taking that apart, removing the counterweights, a lot of counterweights they have to remove. Piece by piece, they'll be taking it apart.
Some more.
We think it'll be 35 pieces that'll be taken away, and I'm not sure. Have we found a location? There is a location identified, and we won't reveal that right now, but that'll be taken away.
Well, every time there's an incident, we do an after-action report. Every crane accident. That report, there's a lot of inaccurate facts in that report, I must tell you. I don't know where he got his information from, but there are some misinformation, and we'll deal with that at a later time.
Sir, can you tell us your name and operation?
I'm Joe Esposito. I'm the Commissioner for Emergency Management.
What are some of the unanswered questions you're looking to get answered in this investigation?
You know, it goes from A to Z. I mean, we're going to talk about look into the possible metal fatigue, make sure that the pins that are connecting pieces together, the counterweights, any wind information that's possible, what loads were done even before the previous day. It's going to be an A to Z. So those are a lot. The angles of the boom before it was moved, while it was moved, all of that information. It's extensive.
Looking at the computer and the structure of the metal, right? The two main aspects of this investigation.
No, I think you said the angle of the booms. That's yes. That might tell us that, yes. And the counterweights, the dunnage that was beneath the machine, it becomes quite an engineering investigation, and I assure you, it will be looked at from top to bottom.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, nice.
That was like